Hello and welcome to a new screencast series on NetTuts Plus. My name's Harley Alexander. I've been an author at NetTuts Plus for a while, and I've been asked to do a Photoshop to WordPress series. Today, before I start, I apologize for my voice. It's a bit nasally. I've been a bit sick over the past couple of days. The exam's coming, my body's shutting down. Doesn't want to, get it. Anyway. Today, in this series, we will be converting this theme called Blog Theme Green, very creative name, that's on Themes Forest. You can have a look here, and it's only $6. We couldn't actually offer it for free for obvious reasons, but it's $6 isn't a large amount. Chances are you've probably got $6 hanging around from a prize you won, because I remember they gave out like $10 each a while ago. And yeah, you'll be able to download the finished theme on NetTuts, but we can't actually offer the PSD. However, I have it right here in front of me. So if you've bought it, this is what it looks like coming straight out of the box. It's a pretty simple layout. It's nice and pretty. It uses a very simple color scheme, because this color, and the text color here are the same, and this color along here, and the links, and that are all the same, and the greens are all relatively the same too. So what we'll actually be doing today is the boring part of the series, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Well, it'll actually, by the time I finish recording it, it'll be 4 parts. So the first part is the HTML writing. I know this is generally the most monotonous stage of developing a website, but unfortunately it's what comes first. So we'll jump straight into it. Oh, by the way, if you've checked out that article on NetTuts by Jeffrey about this wonderful tool called Text Expander, I'd recommend getting it, because you can do this. Ta-da! And it types my whole thing for me. Okay, let's figure out a little bit how we're going to split this thing up. So generally, what I do is I'd create a wrapper, which would section off this area here, and make the margin here and the margin here automatic, so that it centers it automatically. Unfortunately, however, we've got a bit of bleed coming off the edge here with this green background, that background, and there's little bars here too. Now, generally, it'd be easier to just make this a background image, but I wanted to do some lateral. Yeah, I think that's the word. Lateral thinking, and go outside the box and try a new method. So I think it's okay. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the wrapper, and we're going to rely on inner divs, which are basically, you'll have the outer div, which has the background color, and then the inner div, which sections it off to be the width of this. So we actually don't have a wrapper, so I was stepping out of my comfort zone. I was like, whoa, step back. Anyway, let's jump straight into it. So you should have a regular document. Whoops, that shouldn't be there. Doesn't really matter what doc type. I like to use HTML 4.01 because it's the most widely used one. I'll start off with a style sheet link for later on in the CSS, and we'll just give it the title Green Blog Theme. And don't forget to save it, of course. I've set tutorials. I've created a new folder just for me called Screencasting, and we're going to call it index.html. Now, the way we're going to be doing this series is I'll do it in 4 steps. I'll do the HTML, and then I'll do the Photoshop, which is slicing up all the images, and then I'll do the CSS, and then finally I'll do the WordPress. Alright, oops, don't want a full stop. Okay, so the way I like to lay websites out is by getting the general skeleton and then filling all the inside bits. So what we're going to do is we're going to create stuff like the header, the header here, and then the hero. I like to call it a hero because it's the hero of the page. And then we've got a title here for the blog items, and we've got a content here, and there's also a post here, And inside that post there's a top and a bottom. And we've also got our sidebar and now of course our lovely footer. So what we'll do is we'll section those off right now. So jump into your favorite HTML editor and let's get typing. So we're going to create a div called header, and then inside it we're going to create a div that has a class of inner. Now we're using a class because we want everything to obviously center perfectly in line, and if we apply the class inner to every single section, then it means it's always going to be the same, because if the same CSS rule applies to each section, then obviously, like I said, it'll be the same. And then we'll create our hero. Oops. And div class equals inner. Now there's a bit of a problem here. See how it's got an extra background? That's actually a bit of a worry, because it means we need to stick an extra thing in. So once again, nest another thing, div id equals hero bg, and then we can move on to our container. Now the container is actually all of this, and then you've got the inner bit, which is the same, and then it splits up into content and sidebar. So go div id equals container, div id equals actually, sorry, let me start again. Now because we don't actually need to give it a background, because see this little repeating pattern here, that'll actually be the background of body. So there's actually only a transparent thing here for the container part, so we don't actually need to use the inner thing on this one. So within that we'll just go content, and then in that, remember, we want our little title, so go div class equals title, whoops, and then underneath title we actually want our post, and then in that we want a top and a bottom, and a bottom, and then after our post, that's the end of the content area, and then we want to create our sidebar. So we div id equals sidebar, and then we need to outside. Okay, so now that you've set up that, we just need to stick the two things in right before the body and HTML, which are the footer bar, which if you zoom in really close is this green bar along here, and of course the footer. So we'll go div id equals footer bar, oops, and then we're going to make an inner, oops, should be class. And now obviously, because we have our personal hates for Internet Explorer, we're going to just stick a full stop in there, which will color to be the same color, so it doesn't actually make a difference. We go div id equals excuse me, footer, and of course div class equals inner, and a full stop again. Alright, now that you've laid out the general look of the blog, if you have a look, it won't actually look like anything apart from the two full stops, because there's nothing to fill it out yet. So we'll go back up to the top and go into the header. Now, because the header, or our header, is only a set of links, we can actually make it a list. So we'll create an unordered list, as you generally would, and then we're going to create a series of LIs, the list items, that are links to different pages. Now, just so that we can get this active effect on the first one, we're just going to go li class equals active, and then we're going to fill it in with some empty links to empty pages. The next one is news, And then once you've done that, you can pretty much just copy and paste 3 times, and then just, change the text if you're feeling pedantic like I am. And that is basically our header. So by the time we're done with it, in fact, I will show you right now. This is the HTML version that I've mocked up. And as you can see, it's got the hover effect of that. And it's all set up. Pretty. Woo! Now that's all HTML. And as you can see here is exactly the same as there. Alright. Okay, so let's go back to our hero. Now, because this is actually the title, obviously when we get to the WordPress, we're going to change the links and stuff to reflect the URL of the blog. But for now, we just want header 1 filled with a link and another empty link. And we'll just say my blog for now, because that is what it says. There. And then underneath that, we'll stick a paragraph. Oh, not capitals. God, no, not capitals. And then we'll just type just another blog. Now we'll actually capitalize those both in CSS, because we can do that. Alright, moving on to the container. Now you've already got all of this in here. We just need to stick our title in, which is this part here. So, for now, what it will be is a second header. It says blog items. And then next to it, we're going to float a an RSS link that will also style in CSS, and we'll also create. Now we're going to use small, because if you see this part here, and this here, and this here, and this here, they're all the same, so we can reuse that over and over. So we're going to say small, read them all, because I believe that's what it says here. Perfect. Without the full stop. Save it. Now the post. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. This is actually where the loop is going to be in the end. So what we'll start to do is, okay, so breaking it up, we are going to, this is going to be a custom field called post image, or I call it green thumb because it's a green blog site and it's a thumbnail, and I've already got lots of custom fields on my test blog. And then this part here is going to be the entry, including the date, so we can actually float those next to each other. And then this here is just a paragraph. So what we'll do is we'll go, we'll make it a link to the page, ahref equals permalink. Whoops. And we need to say class equals post image so that we can float it later on. And it's also class instead of an ID, because once we get around to using the loop, it'll actually be used a couple of times. So we can't actually use any IDs from here down to here. And then we need to fill it with an image. Image source equals blog image.png alt equals. Okay, now these images I'll actually make them available on the website to download. I have blog image and Flickr. This Flickr image is for when we get down to here. They're just filler images. But for now, I'll just grab blog images and drag it in there. Whoops. Need 2 copies. Alright. And whoops. My bad. And then if we preview it, there's our title here. Sorry, our hero. And then our title, and now our post. And it's a link too. Alright. So underneath the image, we're going to stick our entry. So go div class equals entry. Now we have a paragraph that is actually the I believe it's post metadata. Yep. because when we get to the WordPress stage, we'll actually use categories and the date. But for now, we should just leave it at that, I believe. If we scroll up, yep, so news, and then the date. Perfect. And then underneath that, we will just put our some filler text. I don't know if you guys, maybe I have a text expander. Wow. Yay, perfect. There we go. And then if you, whoops, save it, preview, and then there is our text. Alright, that's all there is. Oh, now in CSS later on, unfortunately, because we're floating stuff, we have to use a clear fix, which I personally don't like doing, but it have to. So just stick a little div class equals clear fix in here, and we'll start that later. We'll make sure it's very inconspicuous, and I believe it still works in IE. By the way, Internet Explorer 8. I just shut. Anyway, this is a simple list that says 20 comments, and then a little dash thing, then a href. When we get around to the WordPress bit, we won't be using the read more link, because obviously we want it here instead of like here or under here, because that'd just look weird. So we actually just create a permalink which reflects pretty much exactly that. And we'll also do a proper submit to dig link as well when we get to the WordPress bit. And that is pretty much our bottom. Alright. Now the sidebar is a bit bigger than that. You know how sidebars in every WordPress theme are always unordered list? Well, ours is going to be exactly that. So create a URL, which is the parent thing, and then each list item under that will be a widget. And then we need to give it a title, so we'll make it header 3. I'll say categories. And we also need to give it that little small thing. So categories and choose one. Choose one. And then within our list item, we can create another unordered list and just make some more empty links that will dynamically be filled in later. Just copy that, paste, paste, paste. We'll go entertainment, oops, pictures, CSS design, and we'll pick another one, tutorials. Oops. Great. Now that's our first widget. Now you can actually copy that, go under and paste it again, and now you've got your 3 widgets. Now it's optional to go through and change all the information, but I don't expect you to, because it'll be changing soon anyway. So I'll just leave it at that, and I'll just change that so we know it's different. Flickr images. Now we actually need to change the look of the Flickr thing, because it's going to actually be a list of images like this. Best of the best. So in here, all we need to do is go image source equals Flickr, oops, Flickr.png, and then you can just copy that. Now, yes, and we actually need 4 because we want to make it look pretty. So just stick the Flickr images in there, and then they actually won't show up yet because we don't have them. But what we'll do is you can download off the website once again and stick that Flickr image right there. So now if you refresh, bam, there they are. Alright, that is all for this screencast. I hope it wasn't too monotonous. I know that HTML can be very boring, but once we get to the CSS and the Photoshop, it'll be a lot more fun. Catch you next.